Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm sitting down with Cecil Alexander, and he's gonna walk us through the 5 songs that made him a better guitarist. Right, I need to go practice. Cecil, welcome to the couch.
Thanks for having me.
So you've won or been a finalist in a bunch of different jazz guitar competitions. You've played with some of the greatest living jazz musicians. Like, you're a serious jazz educator as well. I'm genuinely a huge fan of your playing.
Oh, thank you.
What is the first song that you have for us?
The first song is going to be Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix.
And this is the guitar I brought.
So this was the first song that I heard by Jimi Hendrix, and this was kind of just like the song that made me serious about guitar, like rocked my world completely. I was like, I didn't know that you could do that with a guitar.
Right. Do you remember which part of the song that was? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it?
It was the like chromatic walk-up, so it's like...
So that's really interesting. It wasn't even really like the solo that, you know, everybody wants to be the soloist.
Yeah, the solo definitely, I was like, wow, that's amazing guitar playing. But then like getting into that walk-up section, I was like, that's just the perfect release, like after such a tense moment, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So now, since I brought the jazz box, I was gonna ask you, what if we jazzified this?
Maybe I would switch out some of just like the major chords for major 7 chords.
Okay, cool. Okay, nice. Yeah. I remember checking this tune out, or especially the live version, you can really see how he's traversing the neck, and it's like every verse it's not really the same.
Right, exactly.
He has such fluency of all these different riffs, and then he's like, the showmanship that's a whole nother story.
To be able to play that while singing and like guitar behind his back.
Yeah, he's
and
like flipping his tongue at the ladies, and he's like...
That's the Monterey Pop Festival one? Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, the highlight too, after the solo, and he's like shooting the crowd with it. I mean, it's just unbelievable, man.
Insane.
I mean, it's so cliche, but it's just like, when you watch it again, you're like, yeah, it just does something for you.
That's the dude, yeah.
Very cool. What's next for us?
Texas Flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Okay, and what age did you hear that?
I was 12.
12.
Actually, that was just a couple weeks after I heard Hey Joe. So I went straight from Hendrix to Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I wasn't really familiar with like a 12-bar blues or, you know, that whole tradition of playing. And immediately hearing that, just like the tone, the phrasing, like the energy, and also like you mentioned with Hendrix, like the showmanship.
Yeah.
But he starts off with, you know, this intro. But you know, hearing the, you know, that happens like 100 times in that solo.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't know that that was like a thing at that point. Like, I didn't know that you could like have like language when you're improvising, you know? So that was like kind of like a big light bulb moment for me. And that led me to, you know, Buddy Guy and T-Bone Walker and Albert King, B.B. King, Freddie King, like all those guys. And I could kind of see like where his style came from, you know? Yeah. So, you know, seeing that you could create like an improvisational vocabulary that was just like the sum of all these players that you've listened to, that was like, wow, that's super cool. You know?
And you had that realization at 12?
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed watching you play live is that you rarely use vibrato, but when you do, it's intentional. somebody that has what I call obligatory vibrato. Every phrase is like that.
Yeah.
It's a nervous tick, right? But yours is definitely not that. But in blues styles like this, it is a part of the style. Did this song have any impact on your vibrato at the time?
Yeah, definitely. Well, because I spent a while with Stevie Ray Vaughan and like with that song in particular, just like learning the phrases and like really trying to match as closely as I could to what I was hearing on the recording. So I was wondering, like, you know, I know what vibrato is, but like, why doesn't it sound like his? So then I was definitely more intentional, like when I listen to players, like, you know, okay, what's their approach to vibrato? Like Stevie Ray Vaughan can go from like the really wide, like almost like whole step vibrato to like more of the like kind of more narrow, like B.B. King kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
And it definitely gives like the phrases like a different color, I would say. And I would also listen to like rock guitarists and like, you know, try to understand like what their approach to vibrato was. Like John Sykes from Whitesnake, he probably has like, you know, my favorite vibrato of like any player ever probably. And it's like very wide, like, you know, but it's still like super intentional. So I think like it's first identifying like what the person's approach is, and then, you know, just like listening to it and trying to absorb it that way, and then pull out the guitar and like try to match it as closely as you can, you know.
Cool. Looking at the showmanship aspect of these two icons, right, and that you were so attracted to that, I find it kind of interesting because like when I think of you and at least your social media presence, you know, you are maybe known for this sort of expressionless thing that you do. And I'm curious, I've always wanted to kind of ask you, is that on purpose, or is it just how you evolved or devolved, or is it conscious?
It started off being unintentional. Like I was looking back at like one video that I did and I was like, wow, I'm not making like any expressions. And then I posted the video and a couple people were like, man, this guy has like zero emotion. So I kind of just decided to like make it a thing.
Yeah. You know? So yeah, it became a conscious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Hey Joe, you're 12. We've got Texas Flood, you're maybe still 12. How do we get to the next song?
So the next song is Who Knows by Jimi Hendrix and the Band of Gypsies.
Cool.
So I spent like maybe the next 2 years after finding Texas Flood in like that blues rock pipeline. Like that was just all I was listening to was like the three kings of blues.
Yep. Albert King, Freddie King, B.B. King.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, those are my guys. And then even like more modern blues players like Philip Sayce or Eric Gales,
Yeah.
guys like that. That was all I was playing. And then a teacher of mine turned me on to Band of Gypsies, which is a live record. And I was just like, wow, this is like totally different. You know, with the studio stuff, you get to see Hendrix as like the studio whiz and like all the overdubbing and like the layers and everything. But like live, he's just like so loose and almost like jazzy in a way, you know. And I had never seen like the power trio configuration like that before. So I was initially like struck by how stripped down it was, but also like the freedom that him and the rhythm section had was like really eye-opening. You know, I feel like Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding are much like looser feeling, and Buddy Miles and Billy Cox, it's like very like,
It's funkier.
yeah, it's funky and like almost rigid kind of, but so like
But then-
swinging still,
yeah,
you know?
Right. So there's only a live version of this, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's there's only 2 live recordings of it, and both are from the same like concert series.
Got it.
Of the Band of Gypsies playing at Fillmore East, I
Yeah.
think. And it was like 3 days from like December 31st to like January 1st of 1970 or something like that.
Jam it for a sec?
Yeah, sure.
All right. 2, 3, and... Oh yeah, that's the lick. Okay, What is that?
Yeah, the first time I heard that, I was just like, what is going on? So he bends up from the flat third.
Again, this is the wrong guitar for this, but no, it's okay. It's okay. No, go ahead.
So he bends up from the flat third up a whole step to
Okay,
that fourth, but then he grabs the like where the flat 7 is, and then bends it down like, yeah. But it's okay
That's
for
so
that
cool.
second one to be like a quarter tone bend almost. Yeah, that's just like the slickest thing ever.
Wow, that is so cool. Wow. So we've got Hendrix, we've got Stevie Ray Vaughan, and we've got Hendrix again. Where do we go from here?
It Ain't Necessarily So by Grant Green.
Okay. All right. Now I'm ready. How old were you when this hit you?
I was 16. I was about to turn 17. I went to this summer music program where I had a teacher who was like just a super straight ahead jazz guy, but I was kind of curious to get into that world because my dad was into jazz, but I had no idea how to play any jazz stuff.
Was he a musician or just into music?
Just a really big jazz fan. Cool. Yeah. So he had always mentioned like, George Benson, like check him out, Wes Montgomery, but I was like, it's my dad's music. Like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. So I had this teacher, straight ahead jazz player, and he was like, hey, you like blues, you like blues rock, you would probably like Grant Green. And I was like, who is that? So then I went home from the summer program and I Googled like Grant Green, and this was the first tune I heard, and I was just like, yeah, that's like the direction I want to go in.
Nice.
So the tune is bass in E flat minor.
Yeah, walk us through it.
And the melody is just kind of centered around this like bass walk down thing. So it's just going down from E flat, D flat, B to B flat. So we're like in E flat minor. So that happens twice, and then the second half of the tune is these 2 5s. So you have A flat minor 7, D flat 7, down a whole step, G flat, B, and then F minor, B flat, and then they do 1 measure of A flat 7 at the end. And sometimes they'll do like a sharp 11
Jazzy
on it too, yeah.
You want to just play through it like a one-time through or something?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. Count us off.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Nice. Wow. Yeah.
A couple things that struck me about this were the way he was able to like separate the sections with his like soloing approach, because it starts off just super bluesy, like all notes that I had seen and heard before, but then he gets into like which I was like, where does that come from? And it took me a while to realize he's thinking like E flat 7 to set up that A flat minor 7. So like playing harmony that is not there was like not anything I had ever seen before.
It's not fair, man. You were 14 when you realized that?
16, actually.
16, okay. I was like maybe 18, so when I first learned what a 2/5 was.
But then seeing like, the second half of the tune, the way he approaches that, just even leading in with the, and then he plays like all these really like classic Grant Green lines like,
Yeah.
And that, like, seeing how like logical that was, I was like, wow, you can just move the same thing down. Like,
Huh. So where do we go from here?
So after this, we have 4 on 6 by Wes Montgomery.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So Grant Green was like my gateway into like still like more blues influenced jazz, and I was still kind of like you know, reluctant to get into just like totally straight ahead jazz, but it was Wes Montgomery that did it for me. You know, just like seeing how you could play bebop like so fluently on guitar. I didn't really know that that was like possible, you know, like playing lines like a horn player pretty much. So for that tune in particular, just seeing how he was able to like stretch out that long G minor in so many different ways, like, you know, I was then able to see how you can connect like G minor to C7, like the 2-5 connection, or imply like minor 2-5s going into the 1. So like really making a point out of, or, you know, yeah, just extending harmony, the little like rhythmic turns and embellishments and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to like go back and remember what it was like to sort of like not know the fretboard. And I don't say that in like a boasty way, but it's like when students are excited about jazz, but they just don't know their fretboard yet. Where do you start them so that they can start to kind of connect the dots with all this jazz stuff?
Yeah, I kind of start them with whatever they're listening to, honestly. I think that that's like the best starting point, because for me, that was kind of the way that I connected the dots, was like, you know, learning little West phrases or Grant Green things and saying like, okay, why does that work? And, you know, even if the way that you're understanding it isn't like the correct nomenclature, like it's still gonna make like a breakthrough in terms of like understanding the fretboard and connecting the dots, you know. So definitely like transcribing and just trying to relate it to what you know already, you know.
All right, so that's our 5 songs. Is there a common thread we can kind of weave together, or?
Yeah, well, they're all in chronological order pretty much. So I would say like each one is kind of building on the next. So like I mentioned with, you know, Hey Joe, like that led me down one rabbit hole. Texas Flood led me down another rabbit hole with like the blues rock stuff. And then it was just kind of like inching itself closer and closer to like straight ahead jazz. You know, the jazz players that I mentioned are still pretty like blues influenced.
If you could sit in the room when any of these songs were being recorded, which one would you choose?
Probably Who Knows. I think. Yeah, just because I would have loved to have seen that trio live. You know, that must have been life-changing.
Yeah. What advice would you have for an up-and-coming guitarist that's you know, on their journey still of development?
Yeah, I would just say to learn the music that you love, because I think that that's naturally going to kind of help you develop different concepts in your playing in a natural way. You know.
So chasing your inspiration.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being here again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this has just been a real treat for me. We're super excited to get this jazz pathway out into the world. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We could really use your support on all that. Share this video with your friends, your family, your loved ones, all of that good stuff. Don't forget to comment down below. Let us know what your 5 songs would be and who you'd like to get next on the couch. Thanks again to Cecil Alexander, and we'll see you on the next one.